I haven't heard. I just texted him, but we won't hold up for him.
Mr. Cook? How you doing,
Yeah, there he is. Look at that. He's pulling a Monty on us. Pulling a Monty.
bro? Yep, exactly what he's doing.
That's what a thief. That's what a thief does. That's what a thief does. Takes. They don't leave. Anybody heard from Scott? Look at that. Everybody's just taking it right to the edge. Right to the edge.
Or he wanted to tell us the truth.
How's it going, sir? Good to see you
Not too
again.
bad, and how about yourself?
Good. Good.
Good. Good to see you.
Good to see you. I already had a conversation with Jamie about our other conversation.
Okay, good, good.
Yeah.
So you think that that's got some legs to it?
Definitely worth beating.
Yeah.
Right?
Can't ever hurt to talk.
Yeah. We don't have a proclamation with the FMEA. We're just doing the, okay.
Andy giving our invitation tonight?
Yes.
Good, good.
Good. Good. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to call this regularly scheduled March 24th meeting to order. I have no amendments or additions or changes to the published agenda. So with that, I'll ask for a motion to approve. I have a motion from Commissioner Coleman, a second from Commissioner Martin. Any comments, questions on the dais on the motion on the floor to approve the agenda as published? Seeing none, any public comment on the motion on the floor to approve the agenda as published? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passed unanimously. I would like to invite Pastor Andy Cook. Pastor, do you have a name for your church out there on the square? Is it just Church on the Square? Preaching on the Square, Sunday morning at 9 a.m. 8:30. 8:30. All right. Hey, I thought you slept in a little bit long.
Yeah.
If you would, you all stood for the, if you will stand for the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance after we have the invocation. Pastor, thank you.
Our Father in heaven, we are just so thankful to have you, God, to strengthen us and give us direction. We pray, Heavenly Father, that you would bless and anoint all those that are involved in this city's business. God, that you would move us to look to your word for hope, that we would join together as one heart to come together as a community, and we can only be bound together by your strength and by your power. So we pray, God, that you would just put your hand upon our community, and we know that all things are of you, through you, and to you. To you be the glory forever, and we thank you for loving us and creating this community. Through Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Commissioner Clark.
Let's do this one right this time.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Pastor. Yeah, we got through it great that time. All right. First on the agenda tonight is our presentation. We have candidate introductions. We have a mayoral candidate, and we have two candidates for Commission Group 5. Let's begin with the mayoral, Miss Joy Glanzer. Come on down. We ran over a little bit on the last mayoral introduction. We're going to give you 2 minutes and 55 seconds. That way it's all, feel free to use it or leave it on the table,
So
whatever
I can talk
you
slow?
want. You can talk.
I timed this,
Very.
it was like 2 minutes and 1 second.
Yeah, now you
Okay.
can slow down. Yeah.
Well, good evening, mayor and commissioners and friends of Newberry. I'm running for Newberry because I love Newberry. I love this town. I have only 2 minutes, I thought, to make this presentation. So I'd like to use this time to talk about Newberry because Wednesday night is the forum and we'll have a lot of time to talk about the issues then. In the 48 years since 1977, yeah, that's right, 1977, that Newberry has been my home, my husband and I have raised our 4 children, started up and operated 6 businesses, and served our hearts out on anything and everything where we could see a need. The people you will come to find out in Newberry that Newberry has this huge heart, and it'll open up for you in your time of need. It'll celebrate with you in your time of victory, and it'll show up in support of your projects. I've been asked to please, please, please don't turn Newberry into Gainesville, and I'm here to tell you that that is quite impossible. Because the size or the mindset or the physical buildings of this community don't define Newberry. What measures Newberry and defines it is this community. When I first moved here as a young woman of 21, I had been a UF student hailing from Miami. So I have to tell you that Newberry was a bit of a culture shock. But in no time, the local families embraced us. The mayor at the time was Mentally Norfleet, and she welcomed us and we began to settle into what would be the rest of our lifetime. Giving back to this community has been my passion. From the time our children were in school to this present day, it's been a joy to serve. I realize that there's an element of social media that's kind of like the Wild West right now, but that doesn't define Newberry either. So I ask newcomers, give us a chance to show you who we are. And to those who have been here a while, please help me to keep Newberry Newberry, to manage our growth wisely, to plan for the future, and to remember our roots. I'll be your full-time mayor. This will be my only job. You will be my only focus. And please don't forget to vote on April 8th. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you. And that takes us to our first Group 5 candidate, Miss Rosa Marie Campbell. Come on down, ma'am.
Nothing works unless you do it, by Dr. Maya Angelou. Good evening, Mayor Marlowe, my challenger, Commissioner Mazon, Commissioner Martin, Commissioner Farnsworth, Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Coleman. My name is Rosa Marie Campbell, and I'm proud to stand before you today, not just as a candidate, but as one of you. I was born and raised right here in Newberry. 50 years.
We
50
never
years.
ask a woman her age, so you could have said 15.
50 years, proud to be 50. I'm getting there. And this community is my heart. I am a wife. I'm a mother, a sister, an aunt, and a lifelong educator. For 26 years, I dedicated my life to children at the School Board of Alachua County, including right here in Newberry. I worked at elementary school, worked at the high school. Now I'm at UFECC Baby Gator, where I am a proud educator of young children. And I will continue to do my work. I'm running because I believe in Newberry. I believe in restoring unity that makes us strong. Our community has seen division, and we all can contest to that. And we deserve as a community to have a commissioner, and we have to redefine, reunite to be respectful, reliable, and responsible for our actions, because it is upon us. Leaders who are willing to work for all of us, not just one or two. My passion runs deep. As a community member and secretary of My Time and the mentoring program and Take Stock Children Mentee, I have spent thousands of hours making sure every child has the opportunity to succeed and in life, in school. I work to bring people together in small ways too, like starting our local line dancing,
Ms.
Heart
Rosa,
and
we're
Soul.
at 223, so if you want to get to a website or Facebook page.
My website is rosaforcommissioner.com. Vote me your next Commissioner C5 president.
Thank you, ma'am.
Commissioner.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. That was 237, so we'll give
No, don't need that.
237 as well.
I'm good.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Newberryans, how we doing? Man, I want to say it's been, 4 years since I've been in this position right here. I'm just as nervous now as I was back then. I'm a little bit wiser, and I have a little bit more knowledge here. My name is Tony Mazon, or better known as the Friendly UPSer. Yep, I deliver packages as well as delivering dog treats. Some might even confuse me with the Christmas elf. 4 years ago, I came to this commission with one agenda, and that is to be the voice of the community. And I've earned, if I, whoa, getting a little nervous here, going.
Doing fine.
To be the voice of the community. And if reelected, I will continue to be the voice. I will be open, I will be honest, and I will keep being accessible. If I've earned your trust, on April 8th, vote Tony to keep Newberry amazing. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate all the candidates. It takes a lot to put your name on a ballot and step out in the community like that. So anyone who has gone through that process, we certainly appreciate you. Okay, that's going to move us to item 2, which is City of Newberry Community Redevelopment Agency Annual Comprehensive Financial Reports for fiscal year ended in September 30th, 2024. Yes.
It should be.
Is it still on? Oh, the clicker on. Oh, yeah. I could hear it pretty good.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Amanda Hagan. I'm the Acting Director of Finance. Thank you. Thank you.
We made that as a surprise little test for everybody. Yeah.
It was on. This evening, I'm pleased to introduce Barbara Boyd, partner of Purvis Gray & Company, the city's independent audit firm. Barbara will present the results of the annual audits of the city's and CRA's fiscal year 2023-2024 financial statements.
Welcome, Miss Barbara. Come on down. The cat kind of got out of the bag a little bit, but
right.
we're going to pretend like it didn't.
Okay.
We're going to let you start from scratch. And we're glad that you're here because Kevin apparently got Dallas sick. So
Yeah, that's what I hear. Or Dallas got Kevin sick. I'm not
that's
sure.
not the way we're saying it out here. Yeah.
But I'm here. I'm sorry I'm going to bring the tone of the presentations way down and make this really boring for you guys. Those were great presentations, so bear with me. It's just, it'll be short.
Hearing how our money's doing is always exciting stuff.
But, so I'm here to present the results of the city's financial statements as well as the CRA financial statements for 2024. What you see up on the slides is the summary of the auditor's results for both, when I refer to the ACFR, those are the city's financial statements of both the ACFR and the CRA. On the left is the list of reports that are included in your bound financial statements. To the right is the result of those reports. So we'll start with the auditor's opinion on the financial statements. Those are the most important reports in the financial statements, and they tell you that you received an unmodified or a clean opinion, which means that you can rely on the financial statements that are included in the bound report. Moving on is the report on internal control over financial reporting. As you've heard me say before, anytime we do an audit, we do look at your internal controls. The objective is not to issue an opinion on internal controls, but to use that as part of our risk assessment to determine where we focus our resources during the audit. But during that process, if we identify any control deficiencies that we consider to be significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, we would report those to you. We also look at compliance that could have a material impact on the financial statements, and we'd include, if we identified any significant noncompliance, we'd include that in the report as well. So I'm pleased to say there's no reportable items, no significant deficiencies, material weaknesses, or material noncompliance that's reported. There's a couple of examination reports that we issue. One is an examination in accordance with Florida Statute 218-415, which is the local government investment statute. And the other is the Florida Statute 163-387, 6 and 7, which are the redevelopment trust funds. Those are with your CRA, making sure that you're in accordance with the CRA statutes. So those are both clean reports. We determine that based on the testing we perform that you are in compliance with both of those statutes. We also issue a report on the single audit. Since you had over $750,000 of state funding, we had to conduct what's called a single audit, where we dive deeper into the major programs that are identified. So this year, the major state project that was identified was the wastewater treatment facility construction. We determined that you were in compliance with the requirements of that grant. And we also look at internal controls over compliance and determine there were no findings there, no issues there. And then the last item on there is the management letter that's issued in accordance with the rules of the Auditor General. Just a couple of highlights there is that we follow up on any prior findings, make sure that corrective action has been taken. You did have one item last year regarding your building permits. That has been corrected with the implementation of a new system this year, so that has helped. We had no new recommendations for improvement of financial management, and no other items that didn't rise to the level of a significant deficiency or a material weakness that we considered needed to be reported here. So all in all, this is an excellent report, about as good. It's as good as you can get from us. So kudos to your team. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Couple more items, more than a couple. Some required communications with those charged with governance. This is a separate letter that we issue, and it includes certain information that helps you assess the results of the audit beyond what's included just in the financial statements. So a few items to point out here is the qualitative aspects of accounting practices. You did have one new accounting standard that was implemented this year. This is nothing unusual. Every government had to implement this new accounting standard. You do have some significant estimates in your financial statements. Not every number in here is historical fact. There are some numbers that do require management's judgment. We do evaluate the inputs that go into that judgment, make sure that they're reasonable and consistent from year to year. We had no difficulties encountered in dealing with management. So again, thank you to your team for always being responsive to us and answering our many, many questions and requests for information. No disagreements with management, and no other real audit findings or issues to report. Real brief on the financial highlights. So we'll talk about all the governmental funds. This is all your governmental funds, not just your general fund. So this is General Capital Projects Fund and some other special revenue funds. Your revenues did go up from, if I can read, 13.6 million or 13.1 million. They went up, no, sorry, I'm gonna have to pull up my paper because I can't read that far. All right, so your revenues were up $2.1 million. Your expenses were up $2.5 million. The primary driver for the expenses, as you can see, is the capital outlay. That was related to City Hall. And then one other item that I want to point out here on the right side, where the revenues and expenses are, is all the way down below other financing sources. You had bond issue proceeds of $6.7 million this year. That was the bond that was taken out to pay for City Hall. But how you ended the year is important, and that's on the left-hand side. So you can see your beginning fund balance of $6.3 million. You had an increase in fund balance of $8.4 million. Again, that was primarily driven by those bond proceeds. And your ending fund balance for the year was $14.7 million. The bond proceeds are included in restricted fund balance. That means they can't be used for any governmental purpose. They can only be used for the construction of City Hall. And then the table below it is your general fund assigned and unassigned fund balance. These are the funds that can be used for general operating purposes in subsequent years. So you had $2.9 million in the general fund. 17% of that, about $2 million, is set aside. It's a 17% target that you all have established in policy. And then another 6% is set aside as a stabilization fund, again, in accordance with your policy. So you have about 24%, 23% that's set aside for stabilization and to keep in fund balance for operating reserves. So that's exactly where you want to be. That's in accordance with the recommendation of the Government Finance Officers Association. The CRA is here as you have continued activity on this or increased activity. Your ending fund balance for 2024 was $516,000. And that was an increase of $300,000 from the year before. And then your enterprise funds, which are primarily your utilities, we'll just focus on the left-hand side here, your net position or your equity in those funds. You had a total ending net position of $34.4 million, which is a big number, but most of that is your net investment in capital assets. So all your infrastructure, less any debt that you have taken out to pay for that infrastructure. Your unrestricted net position is $3.7 million. That's a decrease of $700,000 from the year before. But that decrease is primarily driven by investments that you have made in your infrastructure this year. So nothing operationally to be concerned with that decrease in unrestricted net position. So that is it. Happy to answer any
Chris,
questions.
you have any questions on, are you do the CRA next, or is it leaving it with that? CRA was
Leaving
in
it,
there? Okay.
no, yeah, leaving it with that.
Commission questions? I just want to say how ecstatic I am. I know that I'm always concerned that when you do this 8 years in a row, it becomes the expectation. And it is the expectation, but we should never take it for granted that our team hits that expectation. I just got done reading an article about the school board's last financial workshop, $33 million deficit. That's why their pay increase from teachers went from 1.6 to 1, because they're on the verge of the state taking over. And I feel really bad for the position that board is in, of having to try to unwind some of the decisions that have been made there. So it is a pleasure to work with a commission and a team that leave our city in such a strong financial situation, because I wouldn't want to be faced with that. I mean, it's a rock and a hard place that they're in. So we should not take this for granted. And we always facetiously talk about, counting and numbers, and, that gets boring, but it's not boring when you're hearing a report about a clean decision. We've got enough money to run the city for 2.5 months with nothing coming in. We're hitting all of our metrics, and we're able to provide a very high level of service to our residents. So thank you, ma'am. I appreciate the work that you've done. Thank you, Dallas. Please pass along to the entire financial team. We're so thrilled to be in such a good position. So thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. All right, vulnerability assessment. Mr. Jones, come on down. Look, he's Johnny on the spot, coming on, ready to go.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. The item before you is vulnerability assessment as a way of a little background for the Commission and for the general public. In May of 21, Governor DeSantis signed Senate Bill 1954 into law. It created the Resilient Florida Grant Program. This legislation ensures a coordinated approach to Florida's coastal and inland resilience. In 2024, the city of Newberry took advantage of this grant program and was awarded $150,000 to perform a vulnerability assessment for the city of Newberry. We contracted with Woodard & Curran to perform that assessment. The purpose of the assessment is to identify the extent of potential floodwater impacts, from storms and whatnot, and that, potential issues with the community around that. Once this assessment has been performed and adopted by the Commission, it opens us up to some grant funding programs that the implementation cycle occurs next year. So I have Amanda Boone, our project manager with Woodard & Curran, here to present the vulnerability assessment for your review and comment, and hopefully your adoption.
Thank you, sir. Come on down, ma'am. Thank you for being here tonight.
Certainly. So good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Amanda Boone with Woodard & Curran, and I'm just going to take a few minutes of your time, hopefully not put you to sleep, as I present your Vulnerability Assessment Report and Adaptation Plan. So as Jamie mentioned, this is part of the Resilient Florida program, and it's taking a look at your assets and assessing their vulnerability to flooding. It is specifically focused on flooding and not other vulnerabilities that you may experience here, such as wind or fire. So it is focused on flooding. And so we're looking at the vulnerability of your critical infrastructure, and then we're developing and implementing solutions to improve resiliency. And that can have many different colors depending on what the vulnerability is and what the asset is. So we look at the critical assets, and we're looking at everything. Generally, they fall into one of 4 different categories. We have your transportation and evacuation routes. We have your critical infrastructure. This is where we look at a lot of your utilities. We have community and emergency facilities. Think of fire departments, police stations. And then we also look at natural, historical, and cultural resources, and this is where parks would fall. So when we talk about what are we looking at, what are we vulnerable to, we actually look at 6 different scenarios. We're looking at both what is commonly called a 100-year event as well as a 500-year event. And we're looking at those for both the current year as well as planning horizons the year 2050 and the year 2080. Now, the reason for looking at those future planning horizons is because let's say you identify an asset that is vulnerable now, and you want to relocate it or elevate it to make it less vulnerable. Well, you'd want to look at what that future scenario might look like so that for the life cycle of that asset, you're now improving its resiliency. So that's a reason to look at those future scenarios. So when we talk about the precipitation that's associated with each of them, you see all 6 of those events listed here. So the 100-year current year event is 10.7 inches. But if we look at the 500-year event in the year 2080, that's 19.67 inches. So a significant difference in the precipitation depth that we're looking at for each of these. Now, when we talk about flood risk, depending on whether it is a critical asset, a parcel, or a roadway, kind of changes the way that we define the flood risk. And the reason for that is critical assets, the depth of water matters. So take a lift station, for example, and yes, there's something that we routinely see as being very vulnerable, typically in low areas. You want to look at that maximum depth of water that's occurring at that asset. But then you want to start to take a broader look. What about the parcel that it sits on? Can I even get to the asset? So we look at the roadways and we look at the parcels, but when we're thinking about those, it's more what's the percent inundation? How much of the parcel is inundated? How much of the roadway is inundated? So you see the same color scheme, but we're talking about depth with our critical assets and percent inundation for parcels and roadways. Now, we combine with the flood risk a consequence of failure. And what this is doing is basically saying not all assets are created equal. And the example I like to give is an emergency operations center versus a park. It's a lot more significant for municipal operations if an emergency operations center floods. Maybe not so much if a park floods. So kind of looking at that as all assets are not created equal, and we've assigned them a consequence of failure based on their relative importance to each other. That's not to say that all of them aren't important, but to each other, we've given them a consequence of failure rating. So when we combine the flood risk categories that I showed you on a previous slide, as well as the consequence of failure, we end up defining the sensitivity classification and rating for each of them. So you have a flood risk category that's a number, you have a consequence of failure rating that is a number. When we multiply those together, we then get that sensitivity rating. So an example here is for a sensitivity classification of high. This is where you're going to see an impact to operations is anticipated, critical services may be interrupted. Well, a school with a consequence of failure rating of 3 is inundated by 1.5 feet. It now has a sensitivity rating of 9, and that's high. Similarly, we have a fire station with a higher consequence of failure rating of 4. It's only inundated by 3/4 of a foot, and it has a sensitivity rating of 8. also coming as a high sensitivity. So you can have different scenarios that result in the same sensitivity classification. And as you go through the report and you see your color schemes, especially when we're talking about sensitivity, this is what we're talking about. So as we analyzed all of Newberry, we started to see different areas where there was clusters of vulnerabilities, and that's what we identified as different focus areas. Now, this is not to say that there's no other areas that experience vulnerabilities, but these were where we saw clustering of that. So here are your focus area 1 assets, and we have included here not just the municipal assets, but we have some county, some private, and some state assets as well. Now, that may not be your primary first focus when you go after implementation dollars, but you do want to be aware of them. It allows you to advise private landowners as well and look for ways to work with the county and the state also on assets that you share. So here for municipal, you see your city hall and you see a number of lift stations. Again, not surprising, I see that quite a bit. For focus area 2, there's a few less here. Again, multiple jurisdictions and ownership of these. And again, some more lift stations. Focus area 3, here we actually see one of the water management district conservation areas come into play, and this was identified because I believe this one also contains some of your wells. So we identified that as a vulnerable asset. We did, because we want to make sure we're opening the door on as much funding opportunity for you as we can, we also looked at municipal assets that are maybe not within a focus area. Like, what are those critical assets that it doesn't really matter if they're in a focus area or not, they're important to us. And this is those assets. These are some roadway segments, some additional lift stations, as well as Nations Park. And so we've identified these as municipal assets outside the focus area that are vulnerable. So for your adaptation plan, and I do not expect you to be able to read this in entirety on the screen. I realize it is very small, not really a better way of doing that. But for each one of those assets, we have identified what could be done to make that asset less vulnerable. In many cases, it might be relocation, it might be elevation, it might be flood proofing. We tried to leave the door open so that you can really propose the projects that make sense for you and that particular asset moving forward. And this is just, you had 3 focus areas and additional municipal assets outside those focus areas. So where we are is I am here tonight, of course, presenting in very short form that draft vulnerability assessment report and adaptation plan for your consideration. Hopefully, if you find that to be satisfactory, you will accept that report. That will allow us to move forward with finalizing that report. I will then coordinate with your local mitigation strategy working group to get them to support incorporating this into the next update of the LMS plan. We will also move forward with submitting to FDEP. This summer, I believe it starts in June, but it definitely closes on September 1st, is the application cycle.
Question, Mr. Commissioner.
Amanda, can you go back to the charts and just sort of teach us how we actually should read this and what columns matter from a decisioning process?
Which one? These here?
Yes, ma'am. The
Okay.
adaptation plan.
Okay.
And actually the one before that, the critical asset outside. I mean, I understand what the asset ID is, I understand that column, but, and the name, but can you just relate what matters?
Certainly. So in this one, as you mentioned, you're seeing that asset ID, you're seeing the name. We're providing, where applicable, the parcel that that asset lies on. And the reason for doing that is it may be that you want to then look that parcel up, because what we're including in the far right column is that percent inundation of the parcel.
Okay,
Remember, I talked about when you're talking about assets, it's not only important what depth of flooding that asset is subjected to,
okay.
but also the percent inundation of the parcel and/or roadway to actually get to it. So this helps you kind of decide what matters most. So an
So
example, yes,
Go ahead.
lift station 23, kind of towards the lower middle of that table.
Yep.
It shows in the 100-year current, it's got 0.6 feet of inundation. If you look a couple lines above that, lift station 18 has over 4 feet of inundation. Now, what I don't know from an operational standpoint is which one of those lift stations is most important to your network. I could work with my other team members to identify that, but that gives you an idea. This one is significantly inundated, this one not as much. Do you address both at the same time? Do you prioritize one over the other? How do they function in the system? Is one smaller? Is one larger? These are all things that you have to think about when you're picking which project or projects you want to go after funding for.
What does 100%
So for that, that means that the parcel and/or roadway to get there is 100% flooded. On the adaptation plan, we're giving you the focus area. We then give you the priority just based on the sensitivity rating. So if it is an extreme case of sensitivity, we're going to give it a priority level of high, and we step it down from there. When we talk about project to be implemented, we're giving you just some idea of what you could do. And again, for a lot of these, you might be talking floodproofing, elevating, or relocating. Any of those are acceptable steps to take towards improving resiliency. So for some places, it makes sense. You have the ability to, you can relocate. Others, you might just elevate. An example, if you have something that is at grade, and you see that in the year 2080, for the 100-year event, the flood depth is 2 feet. Well, can you just elevate it up, say 2.5, 3 feet, and improve its resiliency? Then that might be all that you do. In systems, and I see this a lot with the wastewater system, when you have a system that is very subjected to inflow and infiltration, just elevating up and getting rid of that water sitting on top of the asset does a lot for the system. So we've given that priority. We've given you, again, those asset IDs, what the potential project may be. We've given a planning horizon, and we've grouped this into a short, mid, and long, based on what we kind of see as the magnitude of the project, its priority, just kind of what we think it might actually take for you to be able to do something with that particular asset. The likely responsible entity or entities, and so when we have something that's perhaps a shared asset, you're going to be working with, the county or the state, or maybe both, or maybe a school board. So you have to consider all those parties as well. Or it might just be your own internal departments that you're working with. And then lastly are some potential community partners as well.
Yes, Commission. Is that
Yes.
finalist finished?
Yes.
Commission have any other questions? No, I'd like Jamie to come back to the, go ahead, Commissioner Farnsworth.
Living here 69 years, I really have never seen a problem with flooding in this city. So I was kind of curious as to why this is even being done. Is there such thing as a sinkhole vulnerability study? Because that would be a lot more feasible for this area, I would think.
So I can say I have come to Newberry previously and toured with Jamie after one of your major rain events and seen where there are some areas, especially south of 26, seen some areas where you get some flooding in the roadway and it, stay pretty damp, pretty wet afterwards. But I've also seen the major sinkholes that you have. The models that are done do not assume the opening of sinkholes that will take the water away. What's different about the model that we have done for this, say, compared to a FEMA flood map, because that's what most people are very used to. They are two totally different models. So the FEMA flood model is looking at riverine flooding only. This model is looking at both riverine and pluvial, so just that rain that happens on the landscape and finds the low areas. Now, your low areas may result in sinkholes and take it all away, but it also kind of captures that more nuisance flooding that you may see. So it's a little more robust. It is giving you a very conservative look at what the flooding may be. But again, I think the idea is to keep in mind that this vulnerability assessment is a required step of the Resilient Florida program to apply for the implementation dollars and get the funding for the assets identified. Now, whether you choose to do that or not, that is your decision to make. And that, I think the last thing I was finishing up on was just this timeline to let everyone know that it'll open, I believe, June 1. It closes promptly on September 1st. And by taking action here tonight and us continuing to move this forward, you will be eligible to submit this summer. Happy to answer any other questions you may have.
And that's the main answer to the question. We need this study. One, we have to do the study. Two, we need this study to go after the funding to help increase the resiliency. Commissioner Coleman.
This is to Jamie. I think the two, when it comes to our roadways, is 26 out here by
Southern Fuel.
Southern Fuel, but hadn't that been already handled?
The DOT has made some attempts to address that. That's noted in some of the mapping in the report. So this report is something that's required by the state that you move forward with. As far as any vulnerabilities identified in it, it's totally up to the commission as to whether or not you pursue funding for those. And there's no particular priority that you have to pursue all or none. But to the mayor's point, it is a checkbox not only for this program, but for other grant funding programs that you have the vulnerability assessment in place.
Another one is also a state road, 45 out there past me, where I guess once it starts hitting over State Road, it comes over and then goes into Half Moon. I've seen it bad there. You have too.
235 and Newberry Road. No, I'm saying another one is 235 and where 235 comes to Newberry Road, that curve there, I've seen that flood.
Right.
Pretty good. But anyway, they've identified the vulnerabilities. I guess the next question would be to Jamie. Clearly we want to pursue the most vulnerable, right? And we want to pursue any funding obligation, any funding opportunities to get some help to fix those vulnerabilities.
So the first step, if the commission would like to adopt a plan, and then from that point, we would bring back potential projects that we may want to pursue grant funding for. And to Commissioner Farnsworth's question, I agree. In the average rain event, the good Lord will drain it for you here in Newberry in just a minute. But she does have to model at 100-year and 500-year event. So in the mapping, it makes some of the areas look much more severe, but that's the chance that you have that 500-year event.
So. Other questions? So besides adopting this study, Jamie, any other feedback? We want to adopt the study. We want staff to identify the most vulnerable assets and the most likely to get funding, and then bring that back to the commission.
Exactly, and we have to do that in tandem with our other grant funding opportunities. There's only so many funding entities through DEP, SRF, and whatnot, and we wouldn't want to put in an application that would compete with one of our more pressing projects, so we would bring back a list for the commission to consider.
Commissioner Clark.
Jamie, though, on the caveat of these roads that we do have flooding, the state should take care of those, though. We shouldn't be looking for a grant to take care of these flooding problems on these state roads, correct or not?
Well, as the man that spoke to, you could enter in as a partnership. It actually helps the state if they wanted to address something on 20.
It's their money. We ain't doing nothing but flowing money.
But basically, you've identified in a vulnerability assessment that that state road has an issue. You go to the DOT, you say, we think that state should address this. And oh, by the way, we've studied it, modeled it for 100-year, 500-year. Then it becomes, exactly.
What other in town are we seeing? I know behind Bounds we were having problems. There's one that is.
We have some areas south of 26, south of the hardware, and most of those issues, to her comment about riverine versus pluvial, sometimes that's created by, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, there wasn't a drive that lots had to be built up and the finished floor elevation of a house had to be above the crown of the road. So sometimes development over time actually causes a flooding issue, localized flooding issue, lot to lot, that wasn't there before.
Got you.
Prior to the roads or the houses being built, it could sheet flow where it needed to go.
Okay, so I'm looking for a two-part motion, one to adopt the study and two to direct staff to identify the most vulnerable areas and the most likely to get funding and whether to send it to the state or the county as the primary and we'd be the support. Have that motion from Commissioner Martin, second from Commissioner Coleman. Any comments, questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Public comments or questions on the motion on the floor? Come on down. Don't forget to introduce, you come to the podium and introduce yourself again. And
My name is Rosa Campbell, and thank you, Mr. Jamie Jones. I know you've received numerous emails from me. In Northwest 4th Avenue, I don't know why, I mean years on top of years, he has the flooding. My yard is full of water. I remember the last storm, it was over my ankle. And each time I get a heavy rain, so there's a very vulnerable. I don't know why the rain comes down right now because of him. I must say he had to build a mound so the rain is not there. No longer that when it rains and it doesn't flood. And in my yard, it's literally paste, gray. So I don't know why it's flooding in my yard, and I'm glad I'm here tonight, not only to have spoken on my behalf, but it is an issue. And then the sidewalk, recently, one of the gentlemen, the public, they put more dirt, but it needs to be more dirt. That road needs to be graded, it needs to be built up so the rain could stop coming in my yard, because that is an issue.
thank you, ma'am. Other public comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. That will take us to another award for the city of Newberry. Come on down, Mr. Rance Green. We're piling these awards up in the great city of Newberry. Tell us about this one.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor.
You can lift that microphone up a little bit.
I'll try to project.
Don't be
a little more.
shy.
Don't be shy, yeah. The city of Newberry has had a perfect record of no incidents of work-related reported injuries and illnesses in 2024. This is the 9th consecutive year that we've received this award. As a journeyman lineman myself, I am a little partial to the electric side, and this is what this is pertaining to. But I know from this standpoint that it takes not just the electric department, but the staff that's behind us, and you guys up there that to receive this award every year. So from us, we appreciate everything we do, and we appreciate you guys.
Now we're going to get a picture, so don't go anywhere. You know we got to get a picture, but I might. I'll just he's got to scoop down, right? Give me a self-complex here, right? I mentioned at the last meeting about the rock that held the door to the fire department closed, and I was talking about what a great job this commission has done getting us out of that world, right? And that's, it's part and parcel, making sure that our linemen have the right equipment, making sure that they have the right training, making sure that they have the ability to 9 years in a row. It's amazing. So we appreciate you guys. It starts with y'all coming to work, rested and all those kinds of things. But it also, long before that, it starts with you guys making sure they have the right equipment. And so we appreciate from all fronts. And with that, I have this very nice, beautiful plaque to present.
I think I have to take
You
this
get
one
like
forward,
this,
not
you gotta do the
landscape.
cheerleader. It's all right. I'm man enough to take it. Here we go. Here we go. Thank you, sir. Pass off our appreciation. I am having a hard time keeping track of all of the awards that Newberry is bringing home, and I really appreciate everybody's work for that. All right. It took us a little bit to get there tonight, but ladies and gentlemen, your commission likes to hear from you frequently and often. So they set aside public announcement at the beginning of the night. If you have anything, 2 minutes that you want to talk to the commission about that's not on the agenda, you can line up and do so. If you want to talk about something that is on the agenda, there'll always be that opportunity. And there's a 5-minute public comment at the end of the night. And in New City Hall, we'll get tables that don't have ankle busters underneath, especially when you're 7 feet tall. Any public announcements that anybody wants to make? You got a festival coming up you want to announce? Anything like that? Hearing none, we're going to move on. I thought I saw him getting ready to come down. I mean, there's a spring festival.
I'm not afraid.
Yeah, come on down.
I didn't think it was perfect for this evening, but
as many times as you can say it. I never fail. Somebody will say, well, I didn't hear anything about that. I said, well, I only posted on Facebook 15 times and knocked on everybody's door.
How are you this evening, Mayor, Council, our Commission? My name's Chris Mack. I'm president of Newberry Main Street Organization. Since it was brought up, we have our Spring Festival coming up June the 5th. It's 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
April,
Oh, that's a June? Oh,
you
gosh.
Said, okay. I would just make sure
All
that I
right,
really
let
did
me
call
try
you
this
up
again.
early.
Let me try this again. We have our Spring Festival coming up April the 5th, 2 Saturdays from now, roughly, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. We've got music all day. We've got food vendors. We've got over 100 vendors up and down Seaboard Avenue. Kids area. There might even be
Have you got the wood chainsaw guy? Because I love that guy.
I don't actually have the list of the vendors,
Okay,
but he is
that's
a
all right.
repeat vendor,
He
so
is.
most likely he
All
will
right.
be there, yes. But I don't
Okay.
want to guarantee anything. Other than that, the City of Newberry Commission, everybody come out, support your city, support your vendors. Yeah,
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
All right. Other public comment? Does that jog anybody's memory? Hearing none, we're going to move to consent agenda. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as published. Motion. I have a motion from Commissioner Maison, second from Commissioner Martin. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passed unanimously. That's going to take us to item 10, which is the CFEC, Central Florida Electric Company franchise agreements. Mr. Manager. Oh, you want to go ahead and read the ordinance 2025
Happy to do so,
in?
Mr. Mayor.
It's
This
good to do
is
it now because I'll forget later. So.
an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, granting to the Central Florida Electric Cooperative an electrical franchise, imposing certain conditions and terms relating thereto, prescribing penalties for the violation of its provisions, providing for severability of provisions, and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass the ordinance upon its reading by title only. And this is ordinance number 2025-03. First reading.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Manager.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Commissioners. As some of you may recall, about 10 years ago, when you hired our former city manager, you tasked him with getting franchise agreements in place with all of our utility companies. It took us a couple years, and we were successful in getting Clay Electric's franchise agreement put into place, and happy to bring to you tonight the last franchise agreement that we need to put into place to have franchise agreements with all of our electric utilities in the city of Newberry. As a reminder, franchise agreements are contracts between yourself as the municipality and a utility, allowing that utility to use our right-of-way and to serve customers within our jurisdiction. The agreement ensures that the utility has the necessary protections and rights from the city to operate its utility effectively, and in return for those rights and privileges, the utility pays a franchise fee to the city. Typically, those franchise fees go into your Public Works Department because it's paying for right-of-way, and your Public Works Department is responsible for maintaining your right-of-way. You currently have franchise agreements in place with Clay Electric, with GRU, with FPUC, a number of other gas companies, with Waste Pro for your solid waste, and then you do charge yourselves a franchise for your own electric system. So Central Florida is the last major utility that doesn't have a franchise in place, so we're happy to bring this to a conclusion. And then just for your knowledge, on the right-hand side there is a map of the territories. On the left-hand side is Central Florida, on the right-hand side is Clay Electric with the city of Newberry in the middle. It's a legacy, we're bringing a legacy project in. Some of the key terms is generally this matches your Clay Electric agreement. There's a few tweaks here and there that Central Florida wanted to make, or things we've learned from Clay Electric. But by and large, it's pretty much the same agreement that you have with Clay Electric. It's a 30-year term. It grants CFEC the right to sell electricity within the defined territory. They are responsible for their own infrastructure and maintenance and delivery of their own services. It allows them the use of our right-of-way. They can use our streets, easements, public spaces for the utility infrastructure. They must still comply with our permitting regulations. However, we are waiving permitting fees for them in exchange for the franchise fee. There's some other language in there about how they go about construction projects and coordinating with Jamie and his department, as well as the community development department. The franchise fee is the same as it was for Clay Electric. It's 10 years at 4%, another 10 years at 5%, and then 10 years at 5.5%. Clay Electric is just ending its 4%, will be about to increase to 5% next year or two. There is a provision that if we got a large electric user in and we want to incentivize them for economic development purposes, we could reduce or waive the franchise fee on that customer as an incentive to bring that business into Newberry. And then finally, CFEC will fully indemnify the city for all liability and damages related to utility operations. So our recommended action tonight is for you to approve upon first reading ordinance 2025-03 and schedule for second reading and adoption in April. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Dallas, I have to say, you're killing it as city manager. First week you open the Publix. Third week you bring in the last franchise agreement. You know, I mean, you're making it hard on the next guy. You're making it hard on the next guy.
High bar.
I saw two people reaching for the mic. Commissioner Farnsworth.
Dallas, just thinking ahead here, there's some interest in some natural gas companies coming to Newberry. I don't know whether any have gotten to a point where will we have a franchise agreement with them also, or how does that work?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, you would enter into a franchise agreement with those natural gas companies as well. You don't typically do territories with natural gas, unlike the electric providers. You currently have franchise agreements with several natural gas providers, GRU, Chesapeake, FPUC, for example.
Okay, so if they come in, we already have that in place?
Correct. You already have an adopted ordinance that says you will get a franchise agreement.
Okay.
And typically utilities want the franchise because it provides them certain rights that they may not have otherwise.
Commissioner Clark.
Dallas, do all franchise agreements, when they do it, is there a pass-through cost? Do they do anything to the customers that they already have to give us the franchise fee? Is there which is basically a pass-through cost?
Mr. Mayor, although there's nothing that requires it, almost universally all utilities just pass the franchise fee on through to their customers.
I figured.
Okay. Other questions? We've got it on Duke. Everyone else, right? Because they are using our infrastructure, so we have to have some way to compensate for that. Any other questions? Have a motion? Have a motion from Commissioner Martin. Second from Commissioner Farnsworth. Any comments, questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Public comments, questions on the motion on the floor. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. That's going to take us to item 11, which is a second reading of hearing for City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan, Ordinance 2024-09, CPA 23-14. Mr. Attorney, would you go ahead and read that?
Yes, sir.
Into the record.
This is an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, amending the City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan to update specific elements in their entirety, including the future land use map pursuant to Section 163.3177 of the Florida statutes under the expedited amendment procedures established in sections 163.3184, subparagraph 2 and subparagraph 3 of the Florida statutes, and in conformance with sections 163.3161 through 163.3215 of the Florida statutes, providing for codification, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing an effective date. Appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2024-09 upon its reading by title only, and as you said, this is second reading.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Stacy, take it away.
Good evening. How is everybody?
We are ready to get into this.
I know, I bet.
Yes.
I am too.
Commissioner Farnsworth has been, he's 20 years he's been asking, maybe 30.
Well, this is,
Is it 40? We'll stick with 20. We'll stick with 20. Yeah, I was.
well, you'll see the number here later. We'll validate the number later. So staff is asking the commission for a motion to adopt with changes ordinance 2024-09 on second and final reading for the City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan. We made it. We are here tonight to adopt, if that's what you so wish. So I wanted to first start off by how we got here with the strategic plan in place, and that's our goal D1, which is the future-focused roadmap for community planning. That was objective D1.1, revise the comprehensive plan to incorporate the vision of our community. And as you can see, and as I'm sure on our one-on-ones, and you've read the multiple versions that this document has been presented to you, the city's vision from the 2022 strategic plan is woven throughout much of the required update to the comprehensive plan in the goals, objectives, and policies. For instance, our very first goal in the future land use element is promote the city's community character and small town charm. So we did a great job. You all did a great job carrying that vision throughout this whole entire comprehensive plan process. With this update of the evaluation and appraisal report, we will be in compliance with all the state regulations moving forward. I just wanted to briefly go through, as you all have been a part of this, I don't need to say it all, but this is where we've been over the last 2 years, starting in June of 2023, when we did the meetings, the local public meetings here, trying to get input from everybody, starting from there all the way down to today. We are here to adopt.
Actually, Ms. Davis, before you leave that slide.
Yes.
I think that we should do a little bit more of this, because sometimes somebody who hasn't been paying attention, they come in and they say, well, where did that come from, right? And because you guys have been working on this for 2 years, more than 2 years, right? Yes. You're at a different point in the movie, as Commissioner Martin usually says, right? You're at a different point in the movie. Someone else comes in there in the middle of the movie, and they think, how did we get here, right?
Yes.
So I think having these reminders of how many years ago did this process start? How many workshops have we had? How many times have we talked about this in public? It's always just a good reminder. So I think we need to, start like keeping track of these long-term processes so that we can help the public keep up with when they've come in and say, yeah, we want your input, but just know we've had workshops on this starting 2 years ago, right? So we're kind of at a different point in the conversation. So
We
I
are.
appreciate you having this.
Yes, no problem. My staff and I were planning on having more of these where we are in the process slides to help everybody, because not everybody attends every meeting, and so they don't know where we are in the process.
Right.
So, very well said. I agree. So here is what, for the folks in the audience as well, because you all have been very deeply involved in this. We hired a consultant, CHW. We have their representative, Ryan, here tonight, that did the first 3 articles, the future land use, the traffic, and the housing element. Then staff decided, well, we were going to do the water, with the wastewater, solid waste, stormwater, and potable water element, along with the rest of these. The public school facilities element and the property rights element, they had just been recently updated prior. There was no state statutes that required us to update them. City prepared the economic development, anything in the blue there. And then, as you all know, at the transmittal hearing, we decided we wanted to pull out the wastewater and the capital improvements, and that will be coming to the Planning and Zoning Board in April. So those will be following right up behind this. I wanted to make sure, without a capital improvement update in a couple years, I wanted to make sure we were sending them exactly what we have. We'll have to update it again right after the budget season, but at least they're getting the latest and greatest update. Like I said, no changes on those. So you all remember in November, we sent the items up to the state for their review. We received one comment. And basically, to produce the best document practicable, Florida Commerce provided one technical assistance comment stating, it was a big paragraph with a few things in it, but state that the 10-year planning period is in the written data and analysis and elements, include an updated future transportation map for planning periods, support the updated planning periods with relevant and appropriate data and analysis, update documents reflecting updated permanent seasonal populations, doesn't apply to Newberry, update relevant data and analysis of public facilities, potable water, sanitary sewer, et cetera. As I just said, planning and zoning will see that in April, and you all will see it in April or May, I think it's going to be. So we met with our consultant, NV5, in January, CHW, now an NV5 company, I think is how it goes, right, Ryan? Something like that. So we met with them in January to go ahead and address that comment from the state, and we did. And so the 10-year planning period language has been amended into the written elements. The city has included an updated future transportation map for the planning periods and additional relevant and appropriate data and analysis bridging the city's previous evaluation and appraisal report document. Empirical changes have been created, forming a historical linkage to the city's continuously evolving comprehensive plan elements. So our next steps, if adopted tonight, staff has 10 days to send the completed document back to the state, and they will have 31 days, roughly 31 days if there's no objection, and after that, this package will be considered complete. So we're still asking for the motion to adopt with changes. Those with changes are the changes that we made based on their comment. Ordinance 2024-09 on second and final reading of the City of Newberry's comprehensive plan.
Okay. Commission questions?
Thank you.
Okay. If there are no questions, I'll have a motion. I have a motion from Commissioner Martin, second from Commissioner Mazon. Any questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Public comments, question on the motion on the floor. Let's move us along on a big, long process. Come on down, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioners, my name is Paul Hornby. I just wanted to express my appreciation for the way the city's handled this, especially with respect to the public comment. Those opportunities were very helpful. I know you've heard me say this before, and if I may, I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but I just wanted to reiterate a few key things that I hope you all maintain in your mind moving forward. Really look at a tier density approach. We've talked about this before, but I think the town, the charm, and everything would look better if we have higher density in the middle. And as you get out to that 3-mile nice sign we have out there, it looks more country as you come into our town. Hold developers accountable. I think you guys give them a pretty wide berth. I think it requires higher standards to ensure that we have the community that we like. It's your vision. It's not the developer's vision. They need to adhere to your vision of what this town should look like. We can't have any more monopoly homes like we have north of town here, with no community space, horrible landscaping, and the like. That does not help us have a nice, charming town. And let's revisit all this retail space that's going in conjunction with these developments. I don't think it's a good look. If you look at going out 26, out to that new sign that we have 3 miles away, if you just have a bunch of developments with retail space, it's really just going to look like a strip mall, not nice developments, okay, nice homes. And I think it impacts the downtown too, with respect to the retail space here. And lastly, I really hope there's a mechanism where the developers are required to meet with the homeowners, the affected landowners around them, in advance of them submitting their development applications to you guys. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Other public comment? Commissioner? Only on this agenda item, this motion on the floor, which is to adopt this first round of comprehensive plan. Commissioner Farnsworth.
So is it going to take 2 years to revise the LDRs?
That presentation is coming.
Okay.
Comp plan, remember, is your visionary. LDRs is where you get into some of the very specifics, like Mr. Hornsby's talking about, right? So comp plan is big picture, right? LDR is narrowing it down.
You gotta get it going.
Even more massive task than the comp plan, because now you're going into each one, and Commissioner Farnsworth might be able to tell us, I can't remember the city of Newberry ever looking back. We adopt new ones, but we never go back and comprehensively, I don't even want to begin to think of what Stacey's going to find. She's going to go back into 1800 and find, there's all kind of things in there that we got to update, And I would say, let's take the guiding principle that we took in the charter. If we're superseded by an outside entity, we don't need to pick any fights, right? We're going to lose those anyway. But we're nowhere, we got to get this part done first, so.
That's correct.
But I would say 2 years is maybe,
I have a little
We're gonna do different,
I have a small presentation
sections.
after your motion and approval on this. I have a small presentation just to get you excited about the next phase.
Okay. All right, other public comments on the motion on the floor to adopt the comp plan that we've been working on? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. Ms. Stacy, mini presentation on the future.
Yes.
So we're still kind of in this.
It's a mini presentation, so we're going to go ahead and start again. So we stopped before because we got there to the finish line. Now we're going to start again. So, again, going back to our wonderful strategic plan that spells a lot of this stuff out for us staff, it makes it very helpful for us to move forward so we know what the goals and objectives and policies of the city are. Future focus roadmap for community planning again, and that is align land development regulations with the revised comprehensive plan. That's where we are now after that vote that you just took. So the city of, just a little few facts. The city of Newberry's municipal code has 26 chapters and 2 appendices. Appendix B houses the land development regulations, of which there are 16 articles and approximately 350 pages. Commissioner Farnsworth, this is for you. The last big update to the city of Newberry's land development regulations was in the early 90s after the first comprehensive plan update. That's almost 35 years ago. You'll see there's additions and subtractions and some revisions, but an overhaul has not been done since then. Land development codes are malleable and should be updated regularly as needed, and should always be updated after the 7-year evaluation and appraisal report period for the comprehensive plan to complete implementation of that comprehensive plan. That is exactly what the land development code does. It implements your comprehensive plan. So, a few rules as we go forward. This is your document. As the elected officials of the city, this is your citizen guidebook on specific development and procedures. You direct the city manager to direct staff to edit. If there have been more than roughly 3 requests for a variance on any given code, we either rewrite it or eliminate the code section. If it can't be enforced, revise the language for clarity or remove it. No sense having it. So, even though we hadn't adopted the comprehensive plan, staff has already been talking in depth about the land development regulations. We kicked off our LDR rewrite overhaul December 2024. We have weekly scheduled meetings where we talk about various different land development codes that other folks have. We're taking a 3-pronged approach to rewriting and overhauling this comprehensive land development code. We're going to first reorganize it. It's, like I said, 16 articles. We got to really start to figure out where things really need to go. We have a section 4.2, if you've ever opened it up and looked at it. It's got 40-something, I think, additions to it where they should have really been just specific code sections, and instead they're just added. So we're going to reorganize. That may require us to repeal and replace some sections of the code. Those are fairly simple. When we bring them to you, we rewrite the new one and just bring you get rid of the old and bring you the new. Some of those need to be changed because of state statutes and other regulations as well. The second phase is the diet. So we don't make any substantial changes other than wordsmithing, streamlining, and removing outdated terms. There's a lot of things I've seen in some codes. We called something a automated automobile washing establishment. Newberry does not have that, but it is a car wash, yes. And then the third phase is making those substantive changes that need to be made to get the document where it needs to be. There are a few things that we are going to be looking for some assistance on, only because there are some state and federal regulations as it goes with signs related to Amendment 1. I'm not an Amendment 1 expert, and I don't claim to be one, and I did not sleep at a Holiday Inn Express. So we're going to get some consultants to help us with some of those rather touchier subjects. We're definitely going to get some help with that downtown and the CRA, the flexible zoning. Like Mr. Hornby said, we would like to see some of that more intense growth in the center with the ability to be infill and fill in some of those wonderful properties there. Planned developments might be another one. Parking is a very sticky issue. Sometimes there's just better regulations out there than I can come up with. So after the reorganization phase of the process, we will be scheduling one-on-one meetings with each commissioner to discuss any comments, issues, concerns they may have as we embark on this rewrite. We don't want to get halfway down the path and then have to divert, take a left or a right. Instead, we want to talk to you in the beginning. Just one note, it is also very difficult to rewrite code as applications are coming in. So we're going to be balancing and juggling all of that as it happens, so we're not slowing things down. So, 35 since the last real revision.
Just remember, especially in campaign season, people tend to take things and then they go in a negative way with it. And I think we should be reviewing every change, but remember how expensive this process is, right? So it's not something that you want to be doing in the way that we're doing it on a regular basis. It is something you want to do one time, and then you want to put it on annual, right, review, so that you're just doing minute changes, right?
That is correct.
But this has been a lengthy, and it's required a lot of consultants, it's required a lot of legal advice, required a lot of guidance, so a lot of public workshops, right? So this is not something you want to do at this level all the time,
How
right?
many workshops did you have on the LDR?
Well, so you had two major, or three on the comprehensive plan. We don't have any workshops scheduled except for one-on-ones with you all, because we're taking the comprehensive plan, which is that overall document that you had those public meetings about. We're taking those pieces and we're putting that with you all into the LDRs.
Our LDRs are really, really technical. Comp plan is visionary, what do we want Newberry to look like? LDRs is more, you know, how do you take what the community has said they wanted in the comp plan, how do you turn that into planner speak, right? That will stand up to a lawyer. Like boats.
That's correct. Those pieces.
Planners. Right. Planters.
Not planners, we're not in the yards, no. We are not in the yards. So we put together a rough timeline, subject to change. You will see that this ends winter, spring of 2027. Doesn't mean we're not getting you along the way, as you will see multiple pieces of it at different times. So you will be seeing different layers and levels of it as we go through things. You're not going to get one massive document in the end. It wouldn't make any sense to do that. It's a big waste of time. We want to get you things as we're needing to get them to you in the right order that we need to get them to you. So this was the written out version of your time frame here. So we also may be bringing various articles to the PZB and City Commission for edits outside of this schedule as a matter of priority. If things come to us via the city manager and it's got to skip ahead, we've got to bring them to you. We can't hold the whole LDRs up. We'll bring those to you as needed. And that, like I said, that could cause a little fluctuation in our timeline. That was the brief. Here we are starting a new race to the LDRs. Any questions that I can provide answers to?
Any questions? Commissioner Farnsworth.
I would say that I wish it could be done within a year instead of a 2-year period, and if we can make it a priority.
I think it's a priority in the budget then. So if you want to hire some extra consultants, but right now we're asking our staff, whose primary responsibility is the daily operations, to do this on top of the daily operations. So you guys can prioritize it and say, we want it done in a year. Tell us how much it costs to get it done in a year.
That's correct.
Right? But I don't think we can ask our existing staff to be able to pull this off in that time frame. It's 35 years of outdated stuff, but you guys can certainly bring in a consultant to come in for a year and put it on that person.
That is definitely an option.
Congress can go through 15,000 pages in one night, and it takes us 2 years to go through 350.
We'll get AI. Can we get,
Last
we'll get AI?
time, last time this was done, Monty was talking about, I don't know, horse and buggies and
Yeah.
where they are allowed to be parked. And
I mean, I use this concept in my classroom when I talk about there's still ordinances about spitting on the sidewalk, right?
That's right.
Because we just don't ever take them away, right? Commissioner Clark?
So I would like to follow up with what Monty's saying. I say, let's do it in a year, but what will it cost and how quick can we get going?
I'd say,
And
let's
how-
not put,
is that
don't
as-
put you on the spot right now.
No.
But come back to the next meeting
yeah.
and say,
That's correct.
But I'd rather have it sooner rather than later.
Okay.
and I have no objection to that, except I'd say I'd rather have it done well than sooner. So there's a
Agreed.
balance in there somewhere.
We have
right?
things right now that need to be looked at, and that.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Being that same thing with these RVs, boats. I've driven around this town, we pick one person, we stay on them, and we beat them down till we get the whatever done in here, and there's 50 of them in this town. So I think this picking and choosing, if these LDRs are bad, we need to pull it out or quit doing these that ain't common sense until we get this fixed.
And just to be clear, the boat was in the deed restrictions. That had nothing to do with us.
It's still everywhere.
Right.
There's still, there's
So,
boats, there's
right.
RVs, there's.
But what I heard from staff tonight was if it's time pressing, it's going to be reprioritized. And if it's not enforceable or we don't want to enforce it, we're going to kick it out. So I heard tonight everything that fits what you guys want to say when it comes to the get it done quicker. I think that's just a cost, right? Can we do it well? How many people do we have to bring on to do it well, right? What's that going to cost? Because we don't want to be, we did all this and we rushed it too fast and now we got to still a bunch of,
It'll still be managed by staff.
Yes.
right.
You'll just have people doing your daily task instead of you doing.
No, we'll be
Every
doing,
minute.
we'll maintain the daily tasks, and the consultant would be rewriting the the land development code. I don't think you want a consultant coming in running the daily tasks.
Well, you're
Is that
going
what
to manage it.
Well, she would
You're not gonna do
oversee.
everything. We're going to hire a consultant.
Yeah, we would.
We got to work for you.
That's right. I thought you meant we would swap duties
No,
where
no,
they.
no. You
No,
still
we'll do
got
the
a job to
day-to-day.
do, but
They
oversee
do-
that.
Yes, exactly, yes.
Mr. Manager, you want to weigh in on this?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to remind the commission that you did already budget $50,000 in your currently adopted budget to supplement this process. So the timeline that Stacy has presented, you already includes $50,000 of consulting.
And that 50 gets us a 2-year timeline.
1 year, this budget cycle, and then we'll do it going to be budgeted.
Yeah, it'll take 2 years for the LDRs to be completed with the 50 that's already in there.
Right. So if it's 50 a year, you're looking at $100,000, $50,000 more if you want to get it all done in 1 year.
No, I think it'd be much more than that.
Because of the expedited nature of it.
Can we find out?
We'll find out,
absolutely.
and we'll bring it back to
I
you.
mean, it ain't got to be.
Yep.
Right.
Get us somewhere in the ballpark.
I mean, I've been listening to a lot of the comments about decisions that Newberry's made, and one of the candidates was talking about AMI and time of use, which has already been the direction that this commission has directed, right? Already implemented that, already given that direction. But one of the things I love about our staff is that they do things slowly and methodically, and the end product is generally really, really good because of that. You guys directed staff, when you were thinking about AMI, to find a couple of cities that did it well, and find a couple of cities that didn't do it well, and look at the differences. And the difference is generally that they tried to rush the product or the process, and they ended up creating more of a mess. So I hear I'd like a year. I'd like them done tomorrow if we could, right? But I don't want to create more of a problem. If 2 years makes it done really well and in a budget that we can live with, then 2 years is better than 1 year with a $300,000 budget and an end product that we may not be as happy with. Because what I hear from you guys is a lot of frustration on those LDRs being in your way, right? So at the end of this process, I don't want to hear that anymore, because I want all the LDRs to be just what you guys wanted. And when somebody comes up here and is upset, you can say, well, this is why the rule is there, and we can enforce it, and we can stand behind it. So, but you'll come back to us next time with, if we want it on a year-line budget, a year-line timeline, what's the budget, right? Okay, and we don't need a motion because that was just a presentation.
That was just information.
Any other Thoughts? All right, we're going to move on to agenda item 12. This is State Road 26, Newberry Lane Traffic Signal Cost Share Agreement with Publix. Oh, the light that everyone is ready for.
Good evening again, Mayor, Commissioners. The item before you is the State Road 26 Traffic Light Cost Share Agreement with Publix, and the recommended action is for you to authorize the city manager to execute this agreement with Publix. Just to give a little background and for the general public, for the past 3 years, we've been partnering with FDOT, Alachua County, the Publix developer, and GROMAX, which is now Highland Park, to plan for traffic signal improvements associated with these developments, proximity to State Road 26 and Newberry Lane. The city has met with all of the stakeholders numerous times and never could gain consensus as to what traffic signal improvements were best for the community. At one point in time, if you recall, Publix was actually being held up from proceeding due to this issue. The city was finally able to get Publix released by the FDOT, and that kind of took the urgency away. But today, we still do not have consensus on what to do with that traffic light in that area. Each party has a different idea how to proceed, and we're working on developing a consensus, and there will be a presentation coming before you in the next month or so.
Mr. Jamie, let me just reiterate for the public that the disagreement is not about the stoplight. All the parties want the stoplight. The disagreement is on is going to be a left-hand turn as well at the stoplight, or people have to go through the stoplight, take a turn lane, and then come do a roundabout and come back to it. So, and those are Tallahassee's ideas right now. So that's what that's the disagreement is. I think Newberry believes that these stoplights should be all-way stoplights. Is that the right term? All-ways?
Full access.
Full access stoplight. So if I'm at the stoplight, I can turn right, I can turn left, I can go straight. FDOT doesn't want to do that. So that's what we are having a conversation about, right, is FDOT has a new idea about how stoplights should work. And I'm sure that in their college classroom, it worked great on paper.
Probably. So the Publix developer committed early on to put $134,000 towards this. They stood behind the pledge this entire 3-year period. We've just never got it on paper, got a signed agreement. We now have an agreement. If commission would authorize the city manager to execute it, at least we have secured that $134,000 worth of funding towards the light, whatever the light may be.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. The county also matched the 100, was it the same amount?
No, it was intended to be a 3-way agreement between Publix and the other development, city, and the county. Well, due to the county's desire to locate the light at 235 instead of Newberry Lane and State Road 26, the county is no longer participating in funding for the light.
I find that interesting because,
Imagine.
well, part of what they held up Publix for 9 months on was they thought it was going to go at Newberry Lane, and they wanted a turn lane on 235, and that was why they were still involved even when it was Newberry Lane. So I'm assuming we'll see another one of these agreements for the city's promise to be the cost share, because we're not like the county. If we say we're going to do it, we'll do it.
We're still in discussion with the development to the south about the final cost.
Okay. Was that a question, Commissioner Coleman?
Yeah, well, I got one. Hey, how cold is it in here?
Cold. Very cold.
It's cold, ain't it? It's colder than a well digger's butt, I can tell you that.
I was considering lighter knots and building a fire.
Me too, and I got some in the back of the truck.
5 minutes ago, it was hot, so it fluctuated back and forth. All right.
Yeah, I got a question.
Commissioner Mayo.
So, Jamie, with the county stepping off of this, so are they going to make plans for 235 and Newberry Road? Because at one point they were going to have the right turns there and no left turns.
The county's desire was to make 235 and State Road 26 a fully signalized intersection, not a caution light as it is now. DOT is supportive of restricting some of the turning movements there, but not turning it into a full-blown intersection. But as I said, you will be receiving a presentation from us where we're working in conjunction with DOT, and not only looking at 235, but basically everything from the intersection of 26 and 2741 all the way back to 202 for potential traffic signals, types, and locations.
All right, thank you, sir. Do I have a motion? Motion from Commissioner Farnsworth, second from Commissioner Maison. Comments, question, motion, floor from the dais. Public comments, question on the motion on the floor. This is about traffic light. Public is paying into the traffic light. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Mr. Manager, please pass our gratitude along to Publix. It's pretty rare that people agree to do things verbally and then stick to it months later and put it in writing. So I appreciate that. Next, I have to welcome newlywed Joe Lovelady, and you're here with your beautiful bride.
Yes.
On your honeymoon at a commission meeting. Now that's just fantastic. Now you want to?
No. Funeral arrangements will be announced tomorrow.
That's how much you care about Southwest 15th Avenue. I appreciate it. Yeah.
He was blocking traffic the other day.
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
Yes, I was. You ran me off the road.
All right. Well, congratulations, sir.
Thank you very
for
much.
being
I
here.
appreciate
Thank you,
it.
man, for joining him tonight.
Bless your heart.
Well, Commissioners, Mayor, I'm here tonight to give y'all an update and provide a recommendation to award a contract to Watson Construction to complete the reconstruction of Southwest 15th Avenue. That it would be between Southwest 60th Street and Southwest 252nd Street. And that was, a little background on that. There was significant improvements identified back a couple of years ago, for that stretch of 15th Avenue, long before my time here. But, observing some of those traffic patterns through there, there's some considerable congestion, especially during the school hours. Parents trying to get kids in and out, buses trying to get in and out. So I truly believe that this reconstruction project will make great strides to alleviate some of that. So the recommendation tonight is to authorize the commission for the commission to authorize the city manager to execute a contract in the amount of $2,483,000 for the total of the base bid with Watson Construction Company for the Southwest 15th Avenue Improvements Project. We also ask that the commission authorize the city manager to approve change orders not to exceed 10% of that contract amount.
Okay. Questions? Commissioner Martin.
Yes, sir.
When are we expected to have this started? Are we trying to get it started this summer, right?
Well, we're actually trying to get it started before this summer. That's why we pushed to come tonight. There's a considerable amount of work involved in this project, building a new retention pond and some storm drainage piping. We've got some utility relocates and stuff that can be done and not impact the flow of traffic. We're going to try to get a notice to proceed to Watson Construction early so they can begin that work. So theoretically, the day school's out, they can begin their roadway work and then be working in earnest on that to have that done well before the start of the next fall school semester.
And one follow-up with regards to our notification to all the residents that live along that way. What's been our communication with them so far, and what's our plan for communication throughout this process?
If y'all grant us the approval to move forward with the notice to proceed tonight, communications will begin going out as early as the 1st of April, and but theoretically, it's about a 3-week process between the time that y'all give us the authorizations to move forward, to get that letter of intent issued to Watson Construction, and begin setting those expectations for timelines to move forward.
Are we going to try to put like a sign with like a realtor's flyer to?
I think we were
people
talking
can
about
go by?
renting one of the signs where you can put a message board or borrowing it from ASO and putting it up for a little while to let people know it's beginning to start. Yeah,
don't know if you were in that meeting.
but we haven't really gotten into the details of that, but I know that with Jean Paul, I've been talking with him a little bit about the proper format for sending those letters of notifications out to the residents there on 15th Avenue, and then working with Mayor Marlowe in the school board, what is the proper notification to give the school? Because I do know they have a summer school there at the elementary school. So I want to make sure I touch all those bases and do that in the right manner.
Commissioner Martin, you still have the floor? No? Commissioner Farnsworth?
Was this put out to bid, and was Watson the lowest bidder?
Yes, sir.
No, you were, okay.
Yeah, they were just about $200,000, $250,000 lower than our next lowest bidder. So, and I will like to, if with my city manager's permission, I would like to give Ms. Hagan, our interim director of finance, kudos, because we had an approved budget for this that was right at a little over $2.2 million. As you can see, our low bid is about $250,000 over that. Well, we were able to work with Ms. Hagan and go through the scope of work, the additions that we're doing to this roadway, and found ample justification to utilize some of our impact, budget to offset what our budget was short. So it was her hard work and analysis of that allowed us to be here tonight. So I'd like to say thank you for that.
Absolutely. I was part of that meeting, and that truly is a great thing. But that could only happen again because you guys had the foresight to pass transportation impact fees, which are allowing us to fund this, right?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, you guys are doing things that are setting up the city for success 10, 20, 50, 100 years down the line. Commissioner Coleman?
Are we going to, I guess we're going to lay this right on top of that chip and seal? Is that how that?
No, sir. That's an asphalt road there.
It's the other side.
Yes, sir.
This is in front of the elementary school, the track, that section.
Oh, to go on out to 337.
All right, the other side belongs to the county.
Wow, this has come really quick for 30th. For 30th and 15th.
Yeah, other side belongs to the county. Right.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And it's pretty cheap.
Yes, sir. That is considerably cheap for what's going on there.
Mr. Manager?
Yeah, I just want to clarify for the commission, this is not extending to 337.
Oh.
That is going to be a separate project funded by, this is the existing, from the cemetery to the road to 27.
They will happen in close conjunction with each other. The other section is just on the developer to do, but this is our section.
Yes, sir. But to your question, though, we will be milling off, the top couple of inches of the asphalt that's there.
Right.
And then we will be widening with that existing roadway to accommodate the new left-hand turn lane that's going. So those wider sections will be a full depth new paving section.
It's going to be great. Long turn lane for the parents to drop the kids off, pick them up. On-street parking for the baseball game, track games, softball games.
I have a question.
Commissioner Mason.
Are we going to have stub outs? That's going to lead to, 254 Seaboard Drive?
Stub outs?
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of, no, sir.
Were we planning on?
But that comes in.
That was going to connect to an existing road.
It's deeper.
It's like 2 blocks north of 15.
Right.
Okay. Commissioner Coleman?
What about, didn't we have parking along that road too, or did we take that out?
No, this includes,
the parking or angled?
I did a count on that, and please forgive me if I get this wrong, but we're in the neighborhood of about 75 to 80 angled parking.
It's going to be great for
spots.
kindergarten roundup.
Yep.
Like I say, baseball games, softball games. It's going to be fantastic.
Think you can get 15th at that east for 2.2 million?
Not unless I take some good Polaroids somewhere along the way.
Other questions? Okay, hearing none. Commissioner Farnsworth.
Second.
So,
Hang on one second, Commissioner Farnsworth.
so this being paid by impact fees from?
Not totally.
Not totally, sir.
Mr. Mayor.
The budget was approved for this back in 2024. That approved budget was just slightly over $200,000 short of what our low bid was. So through Ms. Hagan's hard work, we were able to identify a justification to use impact fees to make up that gap in in funding.
Yeah, the total project is funded through your infrastructure sales surtax, the infrastructure side of Wild Spaces. The county also gave us a $333,000 grant towards this project. You have impact fees, and then we are using a portion of your gas tax to fund this project as well.
Another example of Newberry and the county working well together, right? Okay, now do I have a motion?
Yes.
Commissioner Maison and a second from Commissioner Coleman. Any questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Public comments, question on the motion on the floor. Brand new boulevard right in front of our elementary school, on-street parking, sidewalks. It's gonna be beautiful. Seeing none? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you
Take
very
your
much.
lovely bride
Appreciate it.
home and
Yeah.
get out of here early, and she might kill you a little less. All right, item 14 is rescheduled Memorial Day Commission meeting. Mr. Manager?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. As you might remember at our last meeting, I discussed that staff would be proposing moving our second meeting in May, falls on Memorial Day. We have enough items that need to be heard in May that we think we need that meeting. As a reminder, your first meeting is your joint meeting with the county commission. So if we don't move this meeting, we'll have no business meetings in May. So staff's recommendation is that you cancel the regularly scheduled meeting on May the 26th and then call a special city commission meeting for Tuesday, May 27th at 7 p.m.
Mr. Mayor,
I have a motion from Commissioner Martin, second from Commissioner Coleman. Question, Commissioner Farnsworth?
no.
No?
I was just gonna make the motion, but Martin is
He
so
just
fast, he's like,
Quick. We're gonna need that to move that day because we're all gonna be,
That's what I'm saying.
we're all gonna be,
That's right.
so don't everybody take a vacation. It's
If you
gonna be a
take
big time.
vacation, you'll pay when you get back.
That's right. We're gonna have an unveiling. It's gonna be beautiful, right?
Yeah, we got the unveiling coming.
Okay, questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Public questions on moving the Memorial Day meeting from Memorial Day to the next day? Seeing none from the public, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passed unanimously. That takes us to the end of the meeting. Public comments, this is your 5-minute time. If you have something longer you want to talk to the commission about, come on down, sir.
He's been itching.
Don't be shy.
He's been wanting to get up here.
I know you don't like to talk in front of government boards.
There's nothing shy about me. I have over 200 meetings before the Alachua County Commission, their budget tier meetings and Grace Night. Okay, I followed them to their retreats where they had their picnics at taxpayer expense, and I gave them a lot of aggravation there where they thought they were out of the public eye. So shy I am not, but I can tell you this, you have no idea of the darkness and the evil that surrounds that entity, the Alachua County Commission. It is pure evil. And yeah, check your roads, look at Hawthorne, look at Waldo. You can see the damage they've done with the environmental enclaves, bus rapid track, you go on, and I've been through it all, so shy I'm not. I'm here to address you. I've moved back. I'm hoping to spend my final years here in Newberry. I arrived in this area, Jonesville, in 1970 and built a home. I was a Gainesville police officer, head of the police union. So I did battle with the Joe Littles and the commission back then, so shy, no. What I want to talk about in Newberry, I've noticed and it bothered me, is the complete lack of traffic ordinances within this city. That would be not stopping. I've had 4 strokes, so if I stutter a little bit, bear with me. Not stopping totally at a stop sign, but literally rolling through it at 15 to 20 miles an hour. Speeding in excess of 40, 45 miles an hour. Mr. Green has been working with me. He couldn't get his detection equipment to work on 257th Street. I called to 257 Raceway. I was going to put bleachers in front of my property and sell geedunks there. Okay, it's absolutely ridiculous, the disregard for human safety and life. I would like, Mr. Mayor, to thank Commissioner Maison, who had a part in putting a 3-way stop there. The owner had put a sign up about her children and slowed down, and the things I've witnessed are just terrible. Now, do I want everybody getting citations in Newberry? No. I contacted the sheriff's office, spoke with their supervisor of people, the Newberry deputies. They came to my home and they flat told me they didn't carry any speed detection equipment. And I said, I understand that, okay. And then with the study going on with Mr. Green and the stop sign, then I took the position, well, you don't need speed detection equipment to do a stop sign violation. Also, I want to talk about what you can do as a commission and a mayor. And without going round and round about it, the issue is getting worse. There's been near accidents. What activated me was watching children almost run over at the intersection of 4th and 257 when they had their Christmas toys that spun around the sidewalk. It's very close. A woman texting going in excess of 40 miles an hour almost killed a child there. And then last week I had a car pass a delivery truck, not UPS, Mr. Mason, but another delivery truck in that block while one of the new stop signs facing east was violated. There was almost a head-on collision there. The people have become rude in Newberry, far too many of them. We have many good citizens, we have many bad citizens. When I talked to the sheriff's deputy, Tomlinson, and his cohort that worked this area, they said it's even bad in their neighborhood. If any community in this county has more law enforcement officers living in it than Newberry, I'd be quite surprised. But we need to get a handle on this, and the way to do that is start out slow, and then, as they say currently in Vetiga, go after the worst of the worst. I am asking that the commission and the mayor, Mr. Mayor, use the public purview, your bully pulpit, on social media, news releases, to all radios, to anybody that wants to. Newberry is concentrating on traffic safety. There is a Florida statute that is a mandate that all speed limit, the maximum speed limit in any municipality is 30 miles an hour unless otherwise posted. You can reduce it. Mr. Green has left, but we've talked about it. The signage needs improvement. There's one sign, 25. Of course, nobody pays attention. That's just another suggestion. But that has to be corrected, the signage. But first, we can start with a campaign of embarrassment. Act like you're a citizen of Newberry, not a rude person who's going to say, I didn't see him and I'm so sorry I killed that child. Why they drive that way, I don't know. It's not everybody. It's far too much of a percentage that do it. So by using that bully pulpit, Mr. Mayor, to get this word out that we are going to begin the process of not tolerating this, we are going to properly mark our roads. Mr. Green and I have discussed that, our stop sign lines, et cetera. And we're going to start to bring some order back to the community.
Wonderful comment. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Could you restate your name for the record?
Bruce
just to make sure
Nelson.
we get it right.
And stop signs aren't a suggestion, they're a mandate.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Agreed 100%.
Thank you.
Other public comment. Other public comment. Come on down, ma'am.
My name is Rosa Campbell, and I have to agree, because even the stop signs, for some reason, the kids are not noticing them.
The two driver's ed out of school.
I live right there. A young lady, I'm stopping at the stop sign, because it's my house turning to the left. I was coming southbound. So this is so important. What about speed humps? Speed humps cost more than stop signs? I'm just asking, I don't know. And because that curve, and I could have hit her last night, well, 2 or 3 nights ago. It was some, I'm mixing my days up. But it is very imperative that something be done instead of the stop signs. They're right, people are rolling right through those stop signs, and I've been there for 28 years now, and it's just making it worse because people don't want to abide by the rules.
Thank you, ma'am. Other public comment. Public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Bruce.
Seeing no more public comments, we will move to city manager comments.
I have none.
Thank you, sir. You're killing it as manager. Really doing a great job. Mr. Attorney? No, thank you, sir. Madam Clerk? No, you got a big election coming up. You got a lot of work to tell us about. Yes.
Thursday, March the 27th, is the deadline to request
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate it. Commissioner Coleman.
All right, just one thing, April 8th, TT and D. That's all I got to say.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Commissioner Clark.
Mr. Mayor, so you touched upon it right there. When Memorial Day, we'll have many updates. But today for the Veterans Memorial, the bricks came in. So we have over 400 bricks sold that'll be inlaid with names on it from veterans and killed in action and just whatever. And so that was a good day today. All the granites on the ground. Construction has started for the Veterans Memorial. And although we will not have a meeting at 9:30 on Memorial Day, there will be a grand opening. So we'll have it all posted. There's some things going out right now, but start putting it in people's minds. If you want to attend the grand opening of the Veterans Memorial, it is the time. It'll be beautiful. It'll be a standout for this community.
It will.
It will. And,
look forward to it.
you know, just God bless America and God bless our troops.
Commissioner Martin, do you know, I'm blanking on his name, somebody was doing drone footage of City Hall and drone footage of Publix and did like a time elapse. And I can see that name, but I can't. I'd like to reach out to whoever that is and ask, who? Mike Yoho. Let's reach out and see if he can do, because that's going to go up quick.
Yeah.
So if he can get out there and do something, that'd be great. I'll try to reach out to him. Okay. And all, sir? Commissioner Clark, you good? Thank you. Commissioner Farnsworth?
I just remind everybody that the Gators are progressing in the
Very big of you. Very big of you. I know that hurts.
We wish them well.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Commissioner Barton?
I don't really have much, but the mayor and I will be traveling to Tallahassee tomorrow to try to work with some of the legislature on some of our projects that we have been working on, so I'm looking forward to that. And if you got any questions, just give me a call at 352-474-1022. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Mazon?
Yeah, only a couple. Movie night at MLK was a hit. We had like about 37 people.
That's awesome.
So Tasha did a phenomenal job. We got some donations from concerned citizens and other businesses throughout the city. So we had Moana 2, and the kids absolutely enjoyed it. And so look forward to that. We'll be doing it again. Tasha also got married this weekend, for those that didn't know. So it is no longer Tasha Griffin, it's Tasha Green now. Mm-hmm. And it was a very beautiful wedding. And she did all of her own decorations? Yes, she did. She did all of her decorations, which was phenomenal. Looked real good.
Well, she's got some daughters that help her pretty good there. Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's
been
a
well trained.
Team effort, right? Yeah. Team effort. And I think that's it. Outside of, how does the moon trim its hair?
How does the moon?
Yeah.
Trim its hair?
Mm-hmm. Eclipse it.
That was pretty good.
Eclipse it.
That was pretty good.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Come
on. Okay, so I think that I said this after Ms. Hornsby talked, but I've heard the commission, I know I've expressed publicly that I agree, I agree with the tier density, right? We have what is called an urban service district, where our new city limit sign is. That's not just a city sign, that's a line in the sand. East or west of that, we want to grow. East of that, we want green space. We call it a green belt. Beyond that, I still am in favor of a tiered density. I think it's an open question whether that tiered density starts at our historic downtown and works outward, or starts at the state roads and works outward from there. I think that's when we were talking about the urban service overlay, that was one of the questions that we had about the size and the scope of the urban service overlay. But I think that is something that we've talked about already. I think that's something worth efforting for. It's why I'm an advocate of the PPRD being allowed to happen inside the urban service area on that outer band, because I think that would create some of that 1 acre lot, 2 acre lot inside, but it would be on the very outside edge of the urban service area. So I just want to reiterate that we have heard the residents. Beyond that question of philosophy, where do you measure the distance of the density from, and what direction does it go? I think there's a general consensus of agreement there. I did want to announce it has been a scheduling nightmare this year, trying to get all the candidates to do the same debate in a facility that is available. So we do have the mayoral debate is this Wednesday, March 26th, right here, 7 p.m. So we'll have Joey Glanzer, we'll have Tim Martin. The Student Government Association Newberry High School will be moderating. Each of the candidates have submitted their questions to each other. So the kids are not creating the questions. The candidates are generating those questions. There will be an opportunity for audience questions. So if you get here early, the kids will have table set in the background. You can write down your questions on an index card. The kids will take them, make sure that question's not already being asked, right? And we'll get as many of those in as possible. I have not seen the questions. The kids handle the whole thing. All I do is get them a venue and get them in contact with the candidates. I think it is a good idea, and I've already talked to Sheriff Scott about this a couple of times. I think I talked to Sheriff Watson about this. And when Sheriff Darnell was here, we had a traffic unit, but then that traffic unit got pulled. But I know we are about to negotiate. It's worth one more time because I think two things that have happened that have made traffic worse. One, we don't teach driver's ed in school anymore. Kids have to take it online, right? So they're not getting that direct instruction from a teacher, right? Not getting that live. And then the second thing that's happened is we don't have a patrol unit anymore. That the sheriff's department pulled the patrol unit. So the best we can do at this point is rotate around to different neighborhoods and do, speed traps and that kind of stuff, which generally ends up irritating because the person in the neighborhood that speeds that, it's not the one who always speeds. They were just in a hurry that day. They're like, but you haven't given a ticket to that kid, and that kid speeds all the time, right? So it's worth a conversation to the new sheriff. But if Newberry's paying for it, I don't want that patrol unit going somewhere else. That patrol unit stays in Newberry. Just like, for instance, I was listening to the school board, and they were talking about how hard it is to pay for the SROs. Well, those are school resource officers. Just for everyone's edification, Newberry, long before it became a state law, this commission said, we're not going to get in the fight about SROs. We want an SRO in every single school, and this commission now pays for that SRO. So it doesn't cost Alachua County. We get the Safe Schools money, which comes from the state, and then the city of Newberry pays for it because we value our kids and we take responsibility for taking care of our kids. So again, kudos to you guys for that. So as soon as we can find a location and a date that's good for the commissioner seats, we'll announce those debates, hopefully, because we're running out of time. Hopefully that will be soon. And that does it for mine. Stay tuned. We have a CRA meeting. This meeting is adjourned. 5-minute break and the debate will be streamed on our YouTube page. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and call this March 24th Community Redevelopment Agency meeting to order. I have no changes or amendments to the agenda that was published. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I have a motion from Commissioner Maison, a second from Commissioner Martin. All those, any questions on the motion from the dais? Public comments, questions on the motion on the floor? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? I have a motion from Commissioner Martin, second from Commissioner Clark. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. That's going to bring us to project updates. We're just getting a presentation from Ms. Uma. Ms. Uma, come on down and talk to us about economic development and the CRA coordinator.
Actually, we both are presenting.
Come on down. Two for the price of
So-
one. I like it.
Good evening, board members. Good evening, Mayor. I'm Uma Sarmishta, and
I'm Chelsea Bakaitis.
we are updating after 3 months. So we got some directions from the amazing board, and we worked really hard. We are this time doing our annual report from 3 pages to 15 pages. So we are working very hard, and we have like some cool projects going on. So we just want to update on those. This is about annual reporting, so I'll move forward. All the annual report is in the packet. If you want to go ahead and see that, we will be submitting that to the county on 31st. That's the day, according to statute, we have to provide that by 31st of March. So if you have any update, any changes on that, let us know. We will go back and change it before 31st of March. About the update, so as per our last meeting in December, we got some directions from our board to think about what mural will be, about some beautification of the downtown and some business facade grants. So let me update you on the mural project, and then Chelsea will update on the soft wash. So we got approved for the mural by this board on June 24th, 2024. Location we decided was the city annex building right here. We got the Alachua tag grant, matching grant for 2,000, and we are doing some matching here. We are right now working to get some good artists. We have a Facebook post, and we got some amazing ideas from the Facebook post. So the next step on that is getting an artist. We did talk to Mr. Maison's friend, and he also suggested some name. We are also talking to some people from Gainesville, some artists from Newberry, and once we have once we have some ideas in there, we will come back to the board, get the approval for the painting, and maybe in the summer we will create the first mural for the city.
Ms. Uma, for that process, because I mean, I would really like to prioritize local artists, people that we know, local business people, that kind of thing. So, there's two processes here. There's one an artist selection, and one is the actual mural selection. Both of those have the potential to be really good community moments, and both of those have the potential to be black eyes, right? So how do you envision that process working? Does that go to the HARB first because it's on a historic building and you get their advice, and then it comes to the CRA board? Does it come straight to the CRA board? Is staff putting a little committee together and say, well, we've got this local artist and here's a little rendering, right? I mean, how do you, in your mind, how do you see that going?
So that's a good idea. I never thought about the historic board. I was thinking about the this board to approve. So once we have like the artist and the painting there, we will come back with our like 3 or 4 what we have selected as a staff to come here and talk to you guys, and you all will be selecting that. But it's a good idea that we can go to the HARP board if we have everything by May. May is the historic preservation month, so we can pull that out if we have like a good artist and the painting. We can do the HARP board and then come to the CRA board, and then we get the approval. So
I mean, I'm not.
That's a great idea because this is a historic downtown.
It is a historic building,
yes,
downtown.
Yes. And
But I just know that when it's dealing with art, you generally get 5 very different opinions.
Definitely, and that's what we are getting on our Facebook page. But
Right.
some of those are very interesting ideas, good ideas, and we are like trying to find out which one will suit our city. I think people who are suggesting there are saying that it should be local artists. We are talking to the gallery, Larry from the gallery, and he has suggested some names too. I asked him if he want to do the painting, but he said he can do chair, like all the smaller paintings, but not the mural. For mural, you need a special mural artist because you need to have a good painting there. You don't want it to be painting with acrylic and all those things. So you need to have like a good acrylic a mural artist who work on the walls. And since this is a historic wall, we need to first pre-prep it. And we got some quotes from FAM Visionary, and they gave the quote with the changes and like what kind of primers they will use and all. So once we have all those things there, we can do one more round of board meeting and we can discuss that further.
I think it would be a good idea also if you five could go look. I know I shared the post, and there were a lot of comments there, and then the city had it on the city's page. If you guys could give any direction of, I want more watermelons, I don't want more watermelons. I like the train, I like, just something so that staff doesn't come back and say, well, we want watermelons. And you guys say, okay, uncle with the watermelons, right? And it doesn't have to be tonight. You can look through all of those ideas because there really are. But nothing, right. It's like a little bit of advance, like go in this direction help would. I was thinking the water tower was like the red flag in my mind.
You were spared that, right?
Yeah.
I was not there, but I have heard the stories. So I would really suggest all the board member to give the comments. The earlier we can get the comments, we can start working on that, and in summer we can have a mural at least on the one, because the art tag grant have a time limit, so we have to do it before September. So the faster we get the comments and suggestions, the faster we will start acting on that.
Yeah, I think at one point I did put a comment in on the painting should follow the building, the foundation, the start, where it originated there. I used balance heating in there. Used to be a supermarket. I don't know what used to originate in this building, but maybe find out the history behind it.
It was a firehouse. I mean, there was one person that said our old fire truck, because that's where the firehouse would be. I thought it's a different offering. It pays homage to what the building was used. So I thought. But there were other people have little kids come and put their handprints for flowers and that kind of stuff, make it in a community. So again, because of the water tower, y'all don't need a sixth opinion. Y'all just need to give staff a little bit of direction about, do we want another watermelon stand with a tractor in the background? Do we want a train? Because we had the red train Larry painted, and that was the winner of the Quaski Centennial, right? So you can do a train, pay homage to the train. You can do the fire truck. I mean, there's 6 or 7 really good ideas on there. You could just.
A bunch of us holding watermelons.
There you go. Yeah. But I think just by email, you could read through those and then send Uma an email saying, I really like.
The renditions. Ready?
Some of those, yes. Yeah.
Some of the local artists are getting really excited and they're
Yes.
sketching up stuff and sending it. But if you guys will read through and just send an email saying, here's my top 2 or 3 ideas, and that'll help staff kind of weed through.
Definitely, definitely.
Because we're not going to get back with a rendering that all 5 of you agree on. I'm hoping the 3-2 vote is the best we're going to get, right? So this is not the last mural. And we've had a lot of kids come in, UF students, and present that the mural should have photo opportunities that say Newberry somewhere so that I can take selfies. And, so I think we should have some thought to that as well, creating these photo opportunities.
Yes, the postcard style with Newberry written in there, and in Newberry you can have like all those Newberry history in the letters there. That is one of the good suggestion I saw.
We can have Monty when he was 19 climbing a tree. And we could have Tony as a Christmas elf in a corner somewhere, right? We'll just
Get Mark on a watermelon
truck.
Not on a truck. Back then we tractor pulled it.
Okay. Anything else, Ms. Uma?
That's about mural. Now we have fun thing, soft wash.
We're so excited about this update. Bring it.
Bring it. So excited.
Yeah.
Okay, so last CRA board meeting, you had mentioned that you were interested in a soft wash downtown. So we were just going to be focusing on the historic downtown businesses. We went and got two quotes. Opal Industries came in as the lowest at around $6,725 for that's all the historic buildings.
Heck, go. Taking us this long, and it's going to be under $7,000, man. All right, sign them up. Let's do it. Can they start tomorrow?
So we're trying to work on getting the business owners' approval. We sent out a letter. We only heard back from one. So Uma,
You got to go knock on the door.
yeah, we're gonna go tomorrow.
You got somebody that can probably be at most of them. Just hand him a bunch of forms and be like, here, sign this.
I'll do it.
We were planning to go this week to all the businesses and just talk to them and be with the contract if they want to sign it. Okay.
Yeah. Everybody else has already signed up.
Are the business owners in reach? Because there's a couple that.
Well, the business, but a lot of the buildings are leased, so the person who owns the building has to sign. But ostensibly, the person knows who they pay their money to every month. But some of those don't live in Newberry, so you just some of those are going to be a little. Which I mean, that to be fair, that's been the stumbling block. It's never been the cost. It's been getting everybody to agree to it and getting everybody on board. But I can tell you, in Newberry, you just got to go. They don't answer the phone. They don't check their email. They don't. No, you just got to go to their business and sit there until they show up.
I'll be glad to go with you if you need me, Missouri.
I think, Mark or Ricky brought it up last time about maybe whether that mortar will be able to stand the pressure washer.
This is soft wash. Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
You can't pressure wash it. It just sprays on there as a gentle, and then the chemical eats up all the algae.
Yeah, exactly.
Lead with that when you talk to the business. We're not pressure washing.
Yeah.
Soft wash. We're going to clean it up for you, right?
It's about it's about the pressure of when you have a hose nozzle on. That's what the soft wash company was telling me. It's about that pressure, and they've used chemicals to get rid of it.
They're going to be able to get all the way up to the top of the bank.
Yeah, they have a lift.
They have a lift.
They have a lift.
While they're up there, they're going to pull out the grass and the trees.
Yeah, and they're going to wash the windows.
I'm a little afraid to pull out a tree. The whole brick is going to fall out. The tree might be. It does. It sounds great.
Good. Good.
And
Excellent.
you got two commissioners volunteering to help reach out and get everybody to sign that paper.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
This will just
add to it. All right.
So, yes, so that was one of the things which we are working, and we did talk to historic preservation specialists from Alachua County, and they suggested these names. So they are very well rated, and they are ready to work. They will go up and pull up all the trees and plants and put some infills in there so that it doesn't come very quickly. So, and the third update is the facade grant, which is there from last 3 years. It's not been working. So with the direction of the board, we decided to change a little bit on that, and we thought we will try. Currently, we have 50% match. We talked to the Main Street people and Chamber of Commerce why people are not using it, and they said because the money is too less to work with this paperwork. So we decided if we can do a 75% match and maybe do reimbursement as half offered up front with the contract of finishing it on time. So these are some of the changes. We will be doing that this year to make sure that people take use, because facade grant is one of the main thing of CRA, and we want to work with the CRA citizens and the CRA to use this fund. So these are our 3 updates. We are here for any more suggestions, and yes.
Mr. Clark.
Ms. Suma, it was brought to my attention by a business owner that getting the money back is too hard, that they just quit. And this was under Brian's, whatever was going on with the CRA. It was new. We were paperwork. I don't know even what paperwork's down there. Are they allowed to reapply for some of that money back? Because it was so frustrating, and they come to me with it, that it was so frustrating. They could not break the barrier, and it was something over and over, and every time they went back, it was more, and they just quit.
definitely work with them.
Okay.
And yes,
I mean, if
that's
they
what-
got receipts, the proof's in the pudding, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, I think.
Just to try to help you generate this to make it where it works.
Definitely,
And I'd be
yes.
curious to hear after the meeting, you can tell me who that was.
Yes,
Because I
ma'am.
tried calling, I left voice messages on people who had applied before but never got that reimbursement, so I hadn't heard back, so maybe I
We'll
called another
talk.
number. Okay.
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
That's what we're here for, is to help them.
Thank you so
Try
much.
to get this thing kicked off and make it work for us. Yeah.
Commissioner Maison?
Caveat, is there a time frame to that?
For the facade grant?
Yeah, for
No.
those that like me, is there a time frame? Like, is it a year, 2 years? Can they always, if they've applied to get reimbursed and they just quit? And
That's what he's saying. He can go back and do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is there a time frame?
Well,
Not,
since it was started.
Since it was started?
But if they applied and they were accepted, and then they gave up on the reimbursement, because
Yeah.
they found that too hard.
Then that's
Yes.
That's what this was about.
Sweet. Is there a way to get a timestamp on this of us when we started this, so that residents know that honestly these projects have been worked on?
okay. That will be a part of our annual report too, so
Just making sure.
we are making sure, and from this year onward, even the CRA board, according to statute, every December, we have to put, like, what has been started, what has been done, so we have to do every year in December, we have to report that too.
Ms. Uma, I don't know who's responsible, but I have noticed an uptick in social media postings that kind of seem to be more CRA focused. So I don't know if that's Dallas doing that, or that's you guys doing it. We've always said part of this project was funded by CRA, but what I've been seeing lately is more like a CRA focus, like the mural grant does. And I think that helps the community know that things are happening.
Definitely. We will be upfront on more social media now and try to approach more citizen there.
Yeah. Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
I can't remember exactly how far the CRA extends, but the sign out, the city sign out in front of Hitchcock's needs a wash.
I think
Yes.
it needs to go.
I got a,
Right. It says the city limit sign. It is nowhere near the city limit
so
sign.
just to add, we did got a quote for that too, and we are working on that. So
I think it needs to be moved to a more historic
That's-
location of, because it's got a motto on it that's not the city's motto, but was generated by Citizen Economic Development Group a long time ago. It's a good motto, but it's a, we have the city limit sign, which is also not correct. The green sign is too far west, and then you've got that monument sign, which is at Hitchcock's, which is now confusing. At least our city sign is at the urban service area, so there's kind of a logic there. So I think it just needs to. Right. Nobody even knows it's there. So, and we do have another city sign coming in this year's budget that we're working on, because remember, the idea is to have maybe not quite that nice, but on all four corners of the urban service area. So.
And just to add to that, Mr. Mayor, the city manager, like me and city manager, we actually started with a map on that, and if the board agrees, we can put that map together on where these signs can be, and so that we can discuss more further how these signs could be more appropriate in the given location. So
The cement sign in front of Hitchcock's was donated by Florida Rock,
Yes.
and an appreciation for all the city did for living
And I think we should put that one in Commissioner Farnsworth's front yard as a monument. I wasn't going to go all the way to Tombstone. I was just going to say as a.
No, I said it looks like a tombstone.
Oh, it looks like, okay. Anything else, Ms. Uma, Ms. Chelsea?
Don't take it that way, Mike. It wasn't like that.
Okay.
Just real quick on the
Yes.
permission slip that you have them sign.
Hang on one second, fellas.
Soft wash, make sure there's a hold harmless in there, that they agree to hold harmless the city of Newberry and CRA.
Let's send that to Folds and Walker before we send it out. Did we already?
they got a, like, we got
Kirsten already approved
yes.
it. Danielle already approved it. Good job checking up on your folks. Well done. Okay. Okay. Any other questions?
Don't laugh at
No.
this joke.
Citizen comments? Citizen comments? Any citizen comments? Okay.
Y'all love.
Executive director, do you have Ms. Stacy? Who's the executive director? You're the executive director? All right. You have any comments?
I am the interim executive director.
Okay.
I do have one comment. You adopted in your consent agenda a resolution opposing some bills that are in the legislature that would effectively end all CRAs. The biggest part of it would say that the CRAs are not allowed to undertake any new projects after July of this year.
October.
Oh, okay, sorry, have an extra couple months. But when you are talking to legislatures and lobbying on behalf of the city of Newberry, we would ask that you remember this bill and ask the local delegation to also vote against House Bill 991 and Senate Bill 1242.
And Mr. Executive Director, I'm glad you mentioned that because I was going to ask. I think we need a plan because it seems like if that bill moves forward, we need to be on the precipice of bonding all of our projects and going ahead and getting them started. That way, all of our projects are in process because we've got a lot of things that are going to be funded out of this CRA. So whatever the fallback plan is, let's just be ready. I think that the more appropriate legislation would be after all CRAs have expired their timeline, we're not going to do any more. But this is very confusing. Like, when does it stop? I mean, if we just take a vote, but we haven't spent any money, does that count as started, right? Like, having some clarity on that. So if they just change it and say, after this CRA, we're not doing it anymore, right? Everyone's CRA. Yeah, right. So, I mean, this is disruptive and it's going to create a problem, right? But just when your CRA expires, there are no more CRAs, right? Any other comments? CRA attorney?
No, sir.
Thank you. CRA board? Board member? Board member?
Yes.
Yes. Really?
Any changes? Any pleasure working with everybody?
I'm glad you mentioned that. Wouldn't even occur to me that this is the last one, right?
History is gone, baby.
Yeah.
Or history's made.
History's made. I like that.
Y'all have cat problems?
All right.
You have one.
You have bats in town?
CRA meeting?
You don't have more CRA meetings. There's one more meeting.
That's true. At that meeting, I'll still be the mayor because that's the meeting. So that's my last meeting.
That's there for the,
It's before the swearing in. So you jumped the gun.
The election.
That's okay. You almost brought a tear to my eye, Monty. You almost. I like it. Thinking ahead. Thinking ahead. All right, Commissioner, board member Martin? Board member Maison? I have no comments as well. We are adjourned.
Come to all